When I first saw him, honestly, I didn't think nothing much of it. Obviously, like when I first seen him, like I seen him on social media, I seen like the highlights and stuff like that. But like when I see somebody like that, I still don't. I'm not really impressed until you actually show me like practice in the game. So when I first saw him, I was like, he's tall, lanky. I think the first practice he didn't really do much. So I was like, I don't really see what the hype is. But when I first met him, I know he was a great person. He was speaking English, so that made it easier on me to build that relationship with him. So like I said, when I first saw him, I didn't really think not much of him though. Like he was just a regular person to me when I first saw him. Getting to practice, I think the first thing that kind of like shocked me was just his routine before practice. I think he would come in maybe 2 hours, an hour early, and he'll work with he got like a trainer called Gim. So he's working with him. He's doing like these stretches and like exercises I've never seen before. So I'm like, what is he working on? So I go talk to Gim, just trying to pick his brain, trying to see why is Victor doing all this. And obviously Victor is taller, so he probably have like he got to get more of like the stuff so he won't get injured. So me seeing that, and it was like it's every day. Like when I first I thought it was gonna be like 1 or 2 days throughout the week, but he's doing it consistently. He's very strategic about what he's doing. Like he's like when I first came in, he was always asking Gim like, what is this helping? Like how am I going to benefit from this? So me seeing that from a young guy that's projected to go number one, I'm like, okay, like this is I like this. So we get into practice, and it's like me and Victor we opposite teams first practice. So I'm known for like my floater. So I came in, I did a floater, and I put it so high because I know Victor's tall. I know he's gonna try to block it. I put it so high, and he still tipped. I said, "Still." So in our offense, he was back to the basket, fade away, the one leg three. That surprised me. I think the one thing that really got my attention, he was able like to dribble the ball and make plays as like a point guard, and he was like controlling the offense. Like he'll tell you what he want. And for me, I'm like, I ain't never really played with a big that can dribble the ball and tell me, come set me a screen. So I'll set Victor screens. He'll get downhill, make passes, they would finish. I was just so like shocked just seeing it. And as we keep going to now, like he's just building.
Scoot Henderson, your comparison a year ago, and you said like, slow it a little bit, but you said he's got some similarities to Derrick Rose. Mm-hmm. And when you said that to me, obviously, your ears perk up when you hear that because vintage Derrick Rose was a freak, a physical specimen. He had everything that you wanted other than maybe the perimeter shot at that point. This was year two with you with Scoot. Give me, first of all, the progression of Scoot Henderson and maybe what you didn't see year one that you started to see year two.
Well, the progression of Scoot this year was his personality. Last year, he was 17 years old, playing on a team with veterans that was 35, 36. So he didn't really have his voice. Coming back this year with the fanfare and the hype, he became the leader. He grew into our leader, and that's where he started to be more vocal. And it was a good thing to see because he'd embraced the leadership role, but also he took a step in, how to run a team, how to control a team, and that was a huge step for him in his progress. His shot got a lot better. So the thing about his three-point shooting is that he never got three-pointers where they was passing to him. So, Jeff, the team is Scoot's young, the dude on next to him on the wing is young, and he's young. And so he was our creator, and so he didn't get a lot of open threes. So if he passed to, Anthony Davis and go spot up in the corner, it'll be better, right? Because he's getting somebody assistant to him. And so his form is good. Everything is good. It's just reps. And again, when you're 17 and 18, you're adjusting to that three-point line. It's deep. Yeah. And so that's one part he got to get better at. But it's for all young point guards coming into the league. Tony Parker, who was my teammate as a rookie, Ja Morant, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook. All these guys got to get better at that. Steph was a shooter, but these guys are the freak athletes. So it's two different mix.
Yeah, there aren't many that you could say have had the ability to do both, right? They've gotten better. Ja's certainly gotten better, but didn't come in as a shooter. Derrick Rose came in kind of as a non-shooter from three. So the area, obviously, for three-point shooting is putting in the work. You can get better. We've seen that over the years with so many different players. What is Scoot Henderson's work ethic, and is that something you've been on him over the last 2 years? Because some of these kids come in, They're so athletic. They're so physically gifted that they haven't had to work that hard.
Yeah, Jeff, I didn't have to do anything as far as his work ethic. For those that know him, his parents, they have their own gym back in Atlanta. Yeah. And so he's a 7 a.m. practice start at 10. He's always in here before us, and he stays after. So everybody who knows him, his parents did a great job. He came with a work ethic. His work ethic is sick. A lot of times we used to have to tell him as a staff, you can't do that today because we play tomorrow and the next day. So he has an insane work ethic, and that's why the NBA is so high on him, because he's a self-motivator. He's a self-starter, and they'll see when they get him how his work ethic is for sure.
Brandon Miller at Alabama.
Well, we talked about Kevin Durant earlier, right, in terms of me making the comparison to him. He's more physically developed at this point in his career than Durant was in 2007 at Texas. I forget the story when Durant went to the combine and they put him on the bench and tried to bench 185 pounds, and I'm pretty sure he couldn't do it. Right. I'm pretty sure Brandon Miller can bench 185 pounds and can do it probably multiple times.
It matters.
If I had to. Not that it matters, but I'm pretty sure he can do that. I just think he's 20
years old. He's 20. He's going to turn 21.
He's more developed. He's more developed physically, and you can clearly see it. And I think that's a big key. And, the role that they put him in, give Nate Oates credit. I mean, they put him in the right spots. The floor was spaced. He's able to play on the perimeter. The ball's in his hands. He's able to shoot threes. They didn't just try to get him to be a rim runner and run straight to the rim and play down low or do any of those types of things. They utilized him the right way. They really, really did. And he flourished.
Here's what I'll say about Brandon Miller that I loved. I think his teammates really liked him. I think that was apparent. He didn't come in thinking he was the guy on this team, even though you kind of knew he was going to be the guy on this team. He didn't sulk and hang his head when he had a half like that. I think it was against Arkansas where he didn't take a shot in the first half. And he was able to kind of stay the course. He's very even keel. If you talk to him, if you watch him, you don't see a ton of emotion from him on the court. And again, that's another area I would compare him to Jason Tatum. Very, very similar. The only emotion you see out of Tatum is when he's upset at the referees. That's it.
There's something about that whole St. Louis Eagles deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess.
Jason Tatum, Brad Beal, Brandon Miller, they all came from the same AAU team and the same AAU program. And they're all very similar. I mean, you look at Brad Beal's freshman year at the University of Florida. There wasn't a ton of emotion.
Nope.
There wasn't. He was the same thing. He walked in. He was walking into a team that had McDonald's All-Americans. They had Kenny Boynton, Mike Rosario, Irving Walker, Scotty Wilbekin. I mean, really good guards. Scotty Wilbekin ends up being SEC Player of the Year a few years later. There's a really good backcourt on that team, and Brad Beal just wanted to fit in. He walked into that program and wanted to fit in because of the type of human being he was, and wanted to get along with all of his teammates, and not a ton of emotion. And it's just something about that Eagles program now, Brad Beal Elite. They're very similar, all three of them.
Let's start with Amen Thompson.
He is an athlete, is an on the ball player, so he's more of a lead guard than his brother, and that by virtue of personality and flourishing in that role with the ball, and so
he's more of a point. A true point.
He's more of a point. Yeah. I wouldn't say true point because, and again, with basketball, as you know, so there's not as many Chris Pauls right now as they are Dame Lillards, right? You're not a point guard as much as you're a points guard. Right. And he kind of goes back. He's like, I want to be on the ball. I want to be on the ball because I like to raise my hand and say we're running the 2-play and that kind of thing. But he operates at a very, very high level in tight spaces. Pick and roll offense, just getting through a drop coverage or a hard hedge and all that. But the off the charts athleticism that they, and particularly he, I can't say he because they both possess it, is things that I tell people, scouts or people who have been in our building like 2 or 3 times a week, they do something. And he is at the top of the charts with doing it that I've never seen before, athletically.
Ever.
And, I mean, this is like almost 40 years of being in the gym, and it's not just one time; it's regularly do things. And what I've said, basketball's played at three levels, right? Behind the arc, mid-range, and at the rim. But he has a fourth level. Wow. Like he'll take off inside the foul line before the dotted line and do these miraculous, athletically gifted. It's almost like he takes off as a triple jumper. Really? And can stay in the air more than anybody that I've been around. And then they have these finishes, left hand, right hand, sidestep, Euros. It's like, did you see that? Did you see what I just saw? So Amen really, because he's been the leader in that, is really, really accomplished that way as a person and as an athlete.
Villanova forward Cam Whitmore, 6'7", 232 pounds.
It's the physicality and the athleticism. And he doesn't turn 19 until the first week of July. He is a physical freak. He is a physical specimen. He is a guy where if he's able to get half a step on you, like you're not catching up, you're getting dunked on, right? He is a terrific straight line driver, and he has the physical body type of what every NBA team is looking for in terms of these switchable, versatile guys that can guard power forwards, that can also switch onto point guards, players that can knock down threes and also find a way to be able to get all the way to the rim. In theory, and I say that for a reason, in theory, he is the prototype NBA wing in terms of what you're looking for in the modern era of the NBA. Now, we'll get into a lot of this, but there are also some things about his game that I don't necessarily love. Some of the decision making. He's not a guy that is going to be a great passer right now, Greg. He averaged less than 1 assist per game, which is fewer than the number of assists per game per show that Jeff Goodman averages. He is a guy that can dribble the air out of the ball a little bit. Like he doesn't. You can tell that he's wired to score. And you can tell that he's played in a lot of offenses where like you give him the ball and you get out of the way. And I don't know if he's necessarily built to be a lead scorer at the NBA level. There's not a lot of guys that are built for that. And defensively, he is a physical marvel. He's also a guy that very much looked like an 18-year-old that missed a whole bunch of the preseason with a thumb injury when he was supposed to be drilling on where you rotate to, when you switch, getting some of these things down. So there's a lot of work and there's a lot of there's a ceiling there, but the kid, I mean, if you're just drafting for athleticism and potential, I don't know how many guys have more athleticism and potential than Cam Whitmore, especially coming out of the college ranks.
Yeah, I think he has a wide range of outcomes here because if you're drafting for upside, it's really easy to write off some of his limitations last year of what he showed at Villanova of like, oh, he missed the entire preseason. He missed the first month of the year. Like he was playing catch up for the first 2 months of the season. But the upside's there, right? When you're one of the youngest players in your class, when you're an elite athlete, when you're a good cutter, when you shoot the ball well at the rim, like the other things that maybe aren't there with his game right now, like the shooting, like the playmaking, facilitation, are things that he's shown flashes of, even if they're not consistent elements of his game right now. The biggest thing for me is, to your point about he's a prototypical NBA wing, right? He's got the size, 6'7", 230. Like he's only going to continue to grow into that frame and put more muscle on. The question for me is he's got to either be a primary offensive guy to be worth a lottery pick in this draft, which I think is a loaded draft, or he's got to be a proven 3-and-D guy. And I question the shooting a little bit, to be honest with you. If you look at his numbers from last year, from February on, when he really was healthy again, 31% from three, 69% from the free throw line. And I watched a lot of Villanova. I know you did too. You were a big proponent of, hey, they're getting Justin Moore back. Cam Whitmore's finally rolling. This team's a totally different team than the team that lost a lot of games early. I never felt like he was the best player on Villanova, even when I watched that. Maybe from a pro prospect standpoint, but certainly not from a primary option on a college team standpoint.
You've had a chance to really coach Asar for 2 years yourself. Yeah. How far has his shot come? And is he a guy that you could see down the road in the league being a guy who can, again, with work, and you could tell me how hard these dudes work on their shot. Can he be a guy who shoots in the mid to high 30s from three?
I believe so. I believe so. And I'm going to give you a short story that goes with that, right? So, again, in our building or anybody that goes in and out, the people that come in, and, we've had combines with the NBA people, and that's the talk. Can, shoot the shot? What do they do? So we played in the finals. It's a best of 5. We're up 2-0. Both games were nail biters. We won the first one close. We won the second one at a buzzer beater by a man. We're down 1 with 7 seconds to go. We have the luxury of doing like the NBA and women's college basketball. We can call time on advance it. So I designed a play for a man to get it at the top of the key, ball screen, and kind of make his decision from there. He gets it. One of our young guys sets the screen for him. He takes 2 dribbles. He sees to his right, he sees a star on the left wing. He bypasses the guy that screened who popped as opposed to rolled, and throws it, makes a jump pass to Asar. And by then it's about 4 seconds, 3.5 to go. Asar catches it with about 2 feet behind the NBA line and just launches it. All net, no rim. We win the game, go from down 1 to up 2, we win. So the fact that you took that shot, the fact that you had enough self-confidence at that moment, most guys are going to go to their strength. A driver will drive, a shooter will shoot, and that was in 2 years' time the thing that people talk about the most with the men in the Asar. And to nail it like that, for us to win the championship, which says all you need to know about their progress, and now the belief that which is the most critical part to shooting is confidence. And so even when you go 1 for 9, and so that's the process that they're on, and it comes by virtue of their personality and by virtue of their work ethic and the progress that Asar in this case has made.
I mean, you said they're in the gym 4 times a day. Like they live for this game, right? They don't have a lot else that they love. They just want to hoop.
They just, almost to a fault. Like they've got to be able to, the NBA life is something that could, there's so many dynamics to it, but they sleep in their apartment and they live in a gym. That's the long and short of it.
I've heard of worse things, right? Listen, if that's the thing you got to worry about with them, that they work too hard at, how old are they now? 19?
They just turned 20. They're 20. Yeah.
Who do you think Asar's like? Is there somebody, again, we broke down a men's game a little bit and, different players that he reminds you of. Is there somebody that Asar kind of reminds you of?
I'm trying to think, we're deep into the playoffs right now. So my mind is focusing on those playoff teams. And I'm thinking about a 3-2 or 2. I would probably go with DeJounte Murray. He's built better, and that's another thing. They've worked so hard in the weight room that their body has changed dramatically, and they're sculpted now.
What are they? 6'7", 2? What are they? 6'7", 2 something? No.
Yeah, probably. I kidded them the other day. They're probably 6'7.5", closer to 6'8" right now. It looked like they had a growth spurt.
Houston freshman Jarris Walker.
He knows what he is, and you know what you're getting. I think offensively, you feel like he's a okay to good shooter. I don't think you would say he's great. He's got a little bit of a hitch on his shot would be offensively. I think you'd say he's probably more of a straight line driver if you had to put it down. But defensively, IQ, passing, like he's a guy that you can slide in and physically he's ready to go right away. He's a defensive guy, but a high IQ guy, a ball mover. If he can improve him shot making, I don't think he'll ever be a guy with wiggle with the ball. I don't think that'll ever be his game. But if he can consistently knock down a shot, I mean, he's coming in defensively, ready with a high IQ.
See, I see him more as a 10 to 20, 10 to 15 guy. Like, I just think if you're taking him at 6, 7, 8, it's a little bit of a reach for again, somebody that I think is going to be a good piece.
Right.
But I'm not sure he's ever going to be an all-star caliber player. Am I crazy to say that or no?
I don't know, because I think you're talking about a guy playing on the perimeter. He's a piece that I think will be in someone's rotation being that way. I think there's other guys. Again, one of the guys we're going to talk about in Hood Shafino, I think he's a guy that could slide up. There's a couple of guys that we look that probably provide a little bit more offensive punch. But again, if you're I'm with you. It's a little
He
high,
make
but
plays
again,
off the bounce. That's my biggest thing. Can you give him the ball, RC, and say, hey, go make because those are the forwards that are in demand right now in the NBA, right? The guys multi-dimensional that you say, Jason Tatum, even a Paul George is he, a healthy Paul George, guys like that you give him the ball and you say, hey, create, go get us a bucket. I don't know if Jarris Walker is ever going to be that guy. I think he's a guy that he's going to have to play off other dudes to be able to kind of create and get his.
I agree with you. I think his passing ability is so high. I think he's a high IQ guy that you just see some of the plays that he makes, but he's not creating. He's not a guy who's coming off a ball screen. He's not a ball screen decision maker, but he does make the right passes within the flow of an offense. So I think that's the difference. He's just not a guy you give the ball to, go get your bucket, but his intangibles and everything else, tough, work ethic, winner, all those things, he checks the box. And a lot of these guys I'd say this, Jeff, about certain guys. I would rather draft a guy that knows what he is, because guys don't have time anymore. As we're seeing in the NBA now, coaches don't have time. Yeah, I don't have time to wait. The potential is great when you're an organization like OKC and you're hitting the reset button. But how many other organizations have the patience of OKC to sit around and wait on a guy?
Anthony Black.
Well, the big thing is projectable skills, and you alluded to a lot of them. 6'7", long, live legs, and he can get to spots. Now, while he isn't one of the widest shoulder, broadest guys, he's got a wide base and he's got strong legs, and he can get to spots quick, fast, and in a hurry. And the way Musselman used him is a lot of the same ways he's going to be used at the pro level. He's going to be using ball screens. He's going to be attacking closeouts. He's somebody that can make plays, read that second level of the defense. And there's a lot to like about this young man. Does he shoot it as well as you want to? At this point in his career, no, but it's not broken. He can guard multiple positions. He's a really, really good athlete. I think we're looking at a starting point guard in the NBA. I think a lot of it comes down to who he's going to be playing with. Fit is everything. Could he be a secondary ball handler? He'd be excellent at that. It's just the $100 million question, and literally $100 million question.
Maybe more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water, or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field 68 FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks.
Cason Wallace, 6'4", 193-pound guard out of Kentucky.
He is such a good defender. And I'm not just talking about like the one-on-one stuff where he's great. Like he's very good at moving his feet. He's very good at getting in a stance. Like he will slide with you. He will go chest to chest with you. He's not really reaching. And when he does reach, he is getting a steal. He's got some of the quickest hands I think I've ever seen. I think he's tough enough to be able to guard up. Like if you need him to guard fours, I don't think that he's going to get bullied in that situation. I think he's strong. I think he's physical. There's so many times when you are watching the tape of Kentucky where Cason Wallace pops up, makes a play, and you're like, what the fuck is he doing there? How did you end up in this spot? How did you end up in this situation? Like, why are you making this read? Why are you there? What are you doing here? And it all is him getting steals, making plays, getting layups at the other end of the floor. He is the epitome to me of a winning basketball player. If things come together offensively, if he gets better shooting off the dribble, if he's able to showcase what he can do in ball screen situations a little bit more, if he kind of puts it all together on the offensive end, I think we're talking about Drew Holiday. And if you know me, you know how highly I respect Drew Holiday as a defender, as a point guard, and as the 2021 NBA champion. I think that he is just fantastic. That is Taylor Hendricks from UCF.
I look at him, he's 6'9", and he shot 40% from three, right? But he didn't just hang on the perimeter. 7 rebounds per game as a freshman with that frame, with that size. You want to talk about a 3-and-D type of guy. I think he fits that mold. There's one name that comes to mind for me when I just watch him. That's Dorian Finney-Smith, and I just say that because I coached him at Florida, but he has similar size, similar ability to knock it down from three, and similar ability to mix it up inside and rebound the basketball.
Yeah, he very much is the prototype for what NBA teams are looking for from their forwards, right? 6'9", crazy length, terrific athlete, really explosive, makes threes, and showcase throughout the, if you watch the tape, man, like he would switch out on the point guards and would do a job, not just like staying.
Takes pride in it.
Yeah,
Takes pride in it. Yeah.
He would do a job against them.
Kansas freshman Grady Dick, elite shooter.
It's his best attribute, but he's got other things too that he can really bring to the table. Think about this stat, Jeff. 5.1 rebounds as a freshman. That's hard to do. He goes in there, he mixes it up inside. He's not afraid to do that. And I think one of the biggest things for me watching him this season was his ability to take care of the basketball. He didn't turn it over. He knew who he was as a player. With how the NBA is and the spacing and the shooting, imagine a guy like Grady Dick, probably not going to get picked by the Lakers, but playing with a guy like LeBron who needs more spacing around him and guys that can catch and shoot. Here's the other thing for young players too. When the ball hits Grady Dick's hands, he either shoots it, if he has an angle to get in the lane and drive it, he does it, or he moves it. He doesn't keep it. The ball doesn't stick with him. And that is the type of game that the NBA and all of basketball is transitioning to, is movement.
Leonard Miller, Canadian kid from the G League Ignite.
Leonard Miller is a do-it-all forward. He's a legit 6'11". That was his measurements at Chicago last year. With a 7+ wingspan. He's a small forward at heart, but his ultimate NBA position will be power forward /5 because he's big enough to do both. He scores very well around the basket with those different type of floaters, a la Mike Conley. He's a really good one-leg jumper, and he has an improving three-point shot. I think he shot it this year maybe at 30, 31%, 32%. But he's a legit NBA rebounder today. That's his high major skill. That's what's going to translate for him. And he's an ultimate team guy, and he's someone to where his best basketball is ahead of him.
Michigan point guard, 2-guard, combo guard, superstar, best NBA prospect on the Wolverines last season, Kobe Bufkin.
I am so high on Kobe Bufkin. It hurts. I can't wait for the entire world to realize how good this kid is. You alluded to it, Rob, but not only is he young, he was the youngest player in the country in his class out of high school. He essentially, for all intents and purposes, he should be a one and done. That's how people should view him. His freshman year at Michigan, he played like 6 minutes a game, had like 12 DNPs. Year 2, and for about a month, you're like, oh, this guy's kind of showing some flashes, but he's a nice complimentary piece to Hunter Dickinson and Jet Howard. And then about halfway through the season, it's like, this guy's clearly the best player on this team. What are we doing? And they started to shift everything around their offense to that. And that's coincidentally when Michigan started really playing some good basketball down the stretch of the season. He has a crafty handle. He's left-handed. He's elite at the rim. He is good with both hands, but if you let him get that corner with his left hand, it's pretty much unstoppable. He does have the athleticism to rise up and finish, but he is a little more of like a floater finesse angles guy than he is like a just rise up and dunk on your head guy. But his upside as a pick and roll ball handler at the next level is absolutely huge. Keontae George, a.k.a. Kid Gorgeous.
When I think of Keontae, I think of a bucket getter. I don't know if there's a guy that is better at being able to create space for himself. I mean, he's got the step backs, he's got the pullbacks, he's got the drag backs. Every dash back that you could possibly have in an arsenal, he's got it. He can hit 28 footers off the bounce. It doesn't matter if you get a good contest if he's feeling well, because it's going like the defense almost doesn't matter when it's guarding him and he's hot. I think that he's really good getting to the lane as well, right? It's not just the pull-ups. He's got the floaters. He can finish with either hand. He knows how to get to the foul line. He knows how to score. He knows how to put up points. Like he's got a natural ability to be able to put the ball in the bucket and put the ball in the hole. I am concerned about the efficiency. And it's not just efficiency as a shooter. His shooting splits 38% from the floor, 34% from beyond the arc, and he had a 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That is if I'm talking about a concern with Keontae Johnson, to me, that is the biggest concern. Now, when you actually watch the film, right, he got a lot of his assists out of some set actions. They ran a lot of ball screens. That's what Scott Drew does. They run a ton of ball screens. And a lot of it was stuff where he hit the roll man, but it was schemed for him to be able to hit the roll man.
Nick Smith Jr. All right, I'm not going to lie to you, Matt. I love this kid 2 summers ago when I saw him play with Brandon Miller for Bradley Beal Elite on the circuit at the Peach Jam. I just looked at him and I said, man, he fits the NBA. He is going to be exactly what the NBA wants. Now, he had a really, really, really challenging season at Arkansas. Okay. Injured, off, on, in, out of the lineup.
Minutes restrictions.
Out in LA working out with Rich Paul and his people for a while, rehabbing out there. Arkansas wasn't sure he'd come back. This was all stemming from a knee injury prior to the season. So he didn't play a lot in the preseason. Then he comes back, plays a handful of games, shuts it down again, goes out to LA, and then everybody thinks he's done, myself included. I'm like, why would he come back? Just protect your draft stock. What does he do? He comes back. He plays at the end of the year. He's up and down. But again, that's to be expected for a freshman who has missed so much time.
Noah Clowney, Alabama forward, 6'10", 210 pounds.
I love the theory of Noah Clowney, and that's basically what you're drafting. Is what you're drafting is what he can be in theory, right? He is a guy that is 6'10" with a 7'3" wingspan. He is a guy that is I don't want to say very good, but he is a good rim protector that is a really good athlete that has shown flashes of being able to guard on the perimeter, being able to stay in front of point guards in switching situations. He is a guy that has a stroke that looks good enough. It didn't go in quite as much as you would want it to, but he's a guy that in theory can be a shooter. And when you look at the archetype of what NBA teams want in terms of role players, what he is right now in this moment is a decent college basketball player that if he came back to Alabama, I don't think would be an all SEC player next season. This is all long-term potential for him. You're drafting him because in 3 years you could see him being a very valuable role-playing piece for one of the most important and high leverage positions that you can find in the NBA right now. I think that is just as simple as that.
Jordan Hawkins, 6'5", 185-pound guard. Is this the best shooter in the draft?
Yeah, and I don't really think that it's close. He is the elite of the elite when it comes to being a catch and shoot guy. I don't know how many shooters we've seen that are better than him at sprinting around screens, at being able to create different actions that you can use offensively, and finding the way to get squared up to the basket and get a shot off. Like I can't remember a guy that could sprint as fast as he can, catch and shoot as quickly as he can while staying on balance. It's ridiculous what he's able to do. If you get him open with his feet set, like he's automatic. I think he shot 49% on open spot up catch and shoot jumpers this past season. He has an elite stroke. He has a quick release, and he's the kind of guy that if you let him get hot, he can reel off 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row on multiple possessions and can change a game. He can win you a game in 4 possessions, basically going on a 12-0 run by himself. The thing that stands out to me more than anything else, Greg, is is the energy that he has. Like, he doesn't get tired.
No.
He very much, and this is my comp for him, I think he's a modern day Rip Hamilton, in the sense that if you use him right and just run him off of screens all day, every day, Rip was coming off these curls and hitting little 15-foot jumpers. Jordan Hawkins is that, except he's shooting threes. And I think he's got the NBA range. G.G. Jackson from South Carolina.
I like his upside. I really do. I mean, from the first time I saw him in AU ball, I love his body. I like his skill set. I know he didn't shoot it great from three, but again, like you said, the whole team was built around him, and he didn't have a lot around him. Let's face it. He had to do everything, which meant every opposing team, they focused their efforts on, like as you said, the youngest player in the draft, the kid who reclassified, probably could have used another year in high school, but decided to stay close to home, go to South Carolina, be kind of the key piece for Lamont Paris's first season in Columbia. And it was it was solid for him. I think some people thought he could be a top, 8 pick or something. He's not going to be that. He's not going to be that. But I think you're buying low if you're taking G.G. Jackson in the second half of the first round, which is where I think ultimately he ends up in that 15 to 25 range. Jalen Hood Schifino. I will admit, I might be the president of the fan club. I really might.
I don't think his shot mechanics is bad. I think his percentages are bad because of his shot selection. And I think his draft, where he's draft slot depends greatly on, do you view him as a point guard or an off guard? He has good size no matter what.
Yep.
But if he can play point guard for
he's
you.
A guard. RC,
man.
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you.
He is.
He's a guard. He's not a point guard. He's not a two
guard.
He is just a guard. And there aren't many guys you could say that about. But you just put this kid on the court and you just say, you know what? Like, we're not calling you anything. We can run plays where you initiate the offense.
Yep.
We can run plays where the other dude initiates the offense, and you can play off the ball. Derek Lively, 7'1", Duke freshman. When I saw him, he was able to step out and not make a lot of them, but he showed the ability to step out and shoot the three a little bit. We never saw that really in college at Duke.
It's funny you say that, because that was going to be the one thing that I think he's going to show people in NBA workouts that he didn't show in Duke. Yes. I've watched him work out. I've watched him shoot. His mechanics look great. I worry more about him physically to start his NBA career than I worry about his offense, because he knows he's going to be a dribble handoff lob guy to start. But defensively, he gives you versatility on the defensive end. He covers a ton of ground. He's mobile. But the most underrated skill he has might be being able to knock down shots. Now, I'm not saying he's a great shooter, but he's good enough that you're going to, mechanic-wise, that if he gets comfortable doing it, I think he can develop that to his game and knock down shots. His shots look really good. I think everyone that I've heard in workouts so far say that about him, that he shoots it better than they think. I don't think anybody's thinking he's going to come in day one and be that guy, be 40% from three. But if he can get as he physically matures and he gets up to 250, 260,
that's
for him, which will be easy. Yeah. I think in the way he covers ground, he knows what he is, and he understands, hey, my superpower is defending and rebounding, blocking shots, and whatever offense I give you, I give you.
Chris Murray, the other Murray brother, who, again, everybody expected would take a big jump. With Keegan leaving for the NBA, it was Chris's team, right? He barely played as a freshman. He averaged about 10 points a game playing with his brother a year ago, and they made the jump.
Well, I think the biggest difference is the percentages from the 3-point line.
Yes.
But Chris Murray, I'm not worried about that. I'm not necessarily. I think he's a very good shooter. I think him being the number one option on an Iowa team this year that relied on him to take a couple of tough ones, I think was a major factor in this. But let's keep in mind, too, his sophomore year, he shot 38.7. It's a simple shot. It's going to get off quick. I think it projects well at the NBA level. I think you're going to be able to get good value for him later in the draft. He's not going to be somebody that's expected to make this massive thing like Keegan was. But again, Jeff, just like Keegan, Chris Murray is going to come all down to fit and where he's put at. I mean, he's got good projectable size. He's going to be able to guard the third or fourth option. He does a lot of good things on the floor. Can he shoot the ball with consistency? I think that he will be able to, because it's like I said, Jeff, it's a simple shot. It's a quick release. But that being said, we're not looking at a high volume score at the NBA level to the tune of a 20 points per game like he had this year in an excellent year for the Hawkeyes. But at the NBA level, he's not going to be able to create some of those same looks.
Everything we had heard about Ryan was that he's this Kobe Bryant type worker. Like, you're not going to believe it. And, you think some of that's bullshit. You're like, oh, of course he's going to get here. Man, like, if every NBA team that calls, I just say, I know this is hard to believe. The hardest worker you're going to have is, if you draft this guy, is going to be Ryan.
Really?
It just is. He's the hardest working player we've ever had, not young player, the hardest working guy. First one in the gym, last to leave. He's got like a pretty cool backstory, a little bit tragic. Like his dad, who played professionally, passed away 8 or 9 years ago. And he's kind of like took on this dedication in his life to like fulfill this dream. Awesome family. Mom's amazing. He's really good, man. In terms of how I envision him moving forward and like him compared to other guys, I think Usman was the 11th pick. He had some moments his freshman year. Absolutely amazing. RJ was a super athlete. In terms of our guys that we've had, I think he's the most surefire NBA pro because he's 6'7", he's 7'3", and he defends his ass off. So you look at like even the trade deadline this last year, everyone wants a wing who can defend and make shots. Now, Ryan struggled a little bit shooting with us this year. I think a lot of that was he broke his wrist halfway through the year, and he had every chance to just go back to France and prepare for the draft, and he busted his ass, came back, got better with his left. So when he came back, he struggled some shooting, but when you look at his release, he's got a high release. The guy who I compare him most to is like a Mikal Bridges type. Like, I think that's his future.
Michigan guard Jet Howard.
We talked about Jordan Hawkins earlier. He's great. I think he's the best shooter in the class. I think Jet Howard is a close second. His shot making is elite, for lack of a better word. His stroke is absolutely pure. Catch and shoots, pull-ups, it doesn't matter. It's pretty. His makes, when it's just a wide open catch and shoot, they barely touch the net. He's constantly thinking shot. Like, that's the one thing which I think wires him like Jordan Hawkins is there's not a second he's on the basketball floor where he's thinking to do anything else other than find a way to shoot the basketball. He does flash a little bit of playmaking upside. We'll get to that in a little bit. But if you leave him alone, like, it's in. The thing is, NBA teams aren't going to leave him alone. Look, Rob, this is all one side of the coin of Jet Howard, the basketball player. The other side of the coin is that he was arguably the worst defender at the high major level that I saw in college basketball last season.
Duke freshman Dariq Whitehead. He was up and down. He was hurt in the preseason with a right foot injury, had surgery on his fifth metatarsal bone in his right foot. Obviously, it didn't even heal right because he had another procedure after the season ended before the NBA draft.
But what he did was when he finally got himself over the injuries and got himself in shape, he is also one of the reasons that so many of us was picking that Duke team to make a run, because he started elevating. He was another shot creator with size. He started showing shot making ability. When he got games under him and got in shape, he was a double-digit scorer for that group. And that was where you're like, man, wait a minute. He provided consistent outside perimeter threat shooting. I mean, shot over 40% from three, but he added that to that team, a team that struggled with that length as a wing. I thought even with the injuries, most guys, you're saying, hey, this guy had a stress fracture early. He had the other little muscle injury late in the year. He had 2 injuries that caused them to miss games this year. I would have said, hey, for the average kid, hey, you need to come back to school. You're only shot 42% from the floor. You need to come back. But when he shot 42% from three, almost making 2 a game, it was like, all right, you know what? We know with the size, the body, he's ready to go. If he checks all the box and he passes the physicals.
Colby Jones from Xavier. T.O., I got a fun fact for you. Did you know that Colby Jones is one of 2 players in all of college basketball this past season that averaged 15 points, 6 boards, and 4 assists while shooting at least 50% from the floor and 37% from three?
He does everything. And that is highly valued at the NBA level. And coming into the season, my biggest question was, is he going to be able to shoot the 3 ball all that well? And to be honest with you, Rob, his sophomore year, he didn't shoot it well, 29%. Then he moves it up to 37.8, and all of a sudden we have a big-time player. And it's because he does all those other things as well. He's a big, switchable, strong dude that can probably guard anywhere between 2 through 4 at the NBA level. And he's a good decision maker. He's somebody who can come in. He's going to be, if he's able to knock down shots, we're talking about a real difference maker in the form of potentially a Malcolm Brogdon?
Bilal Coulibaly.
Honestly, I feel like the more I play with Bilal and see Bilal, it's like the more impressed I get just because of his athleticism. You know, he's able to get to the rim, and his strides is just, he's so athletic. So it's like when he gets to the rim and jump, it's like you get caught looking. And his defense is very underrated. I think he's going to be one of the best defenders, if not the best defender in the draft. Just his ability he got quick hands. You know, like I said, he's able to block shots because he's athletic. Easy to play with. You know, also a very big lob threat. You know, throw the ball to him, he's going to get it. Crafty. I think the one flaw that I'm hearing and I see with Bilal is probably his shooting. But since day one, since August to now, his shot got a lot better. He got a lot more confident.
Max Lewis, a 6'7", 195-pound sophomore from Pepperdine.
He's an interesting kid. He's one of these guys that left his senior year in high school early to go and train with Frank. What was it, Matriciano? Mm-hmm. Who Marjan Beauchamp and some of these other guys have gone to skip their year, try to get ready for the draft. And then out of nowhere, he goes to Pepperdine, elects to go to college. So this isn't a kid that comes out of the high school scene, out of the 300s in the middle of nowheresville. This kid was a good player coming out of high school, top 100 recruit, a lot of athletic intangibles, if you will, 6'7", 195 with room to grow. He looks a lot like, from a body profile standpoint, not so much a finished product, but Jared Rhoden that played at Seton Hall a couple of years ago.
It's Ohio State's own Bryce Sensabaugh.
When it comes to what he does well, he is probably the best one-on-one player, I think, in this draft. Like, there is, for someone that is 6'6", 240 and built the way that he is, to be able to move the way that he does and get the shots off that he's able to get, it's really, really impressive. Like, he's so good in the mid-range. He has all the whatever phrase you want to use, whether it's step backs, pull backs, jab steps, one dribble pull-ups. Like, he's got everything. He's got a really, really well-developed offensive package. He can get to the rim. He powers through smaller defenders. Like, he is built like a defensive lineman and plays like he's a defensive lineman when he's going to the basket. Like, he's going to try to dunk on you. He could get through smaller defenders. Like, he is an absolute analytics darling. If you're one of these people that's going to buy into like efficiency, effective field goal percentage, like all of the kind of advanced numbers when it comes to what he is offensively, like, you're going to absolutely love this dude. Houston's All-American guard, Marcus Sasser.
I think the biggest thing that scouts and teams and franchises are looking at when in terms of Sasser is, what's the knock? His size. Is he big enough to play at the next level? Because he's a proven winner. You look at his numbers for his career since he got to Houston, they improved every single year. His assists got better. His turnovers dropped. He got better. And, oh, by the way, he was on one of the most consistent teams in the NCAA. I just don't think you can go wrong in picking him because he's a proven winner, and Kelvin Sampson instills guarding and playing extremely hard, and he has that. So inject him into an NBA franchise. He's going to be ready to play.
G League Ignites CD Sissisco. Hopefully I'm getting it right from his coach, Jason Hart here.
He's a European wing, right? He is from France, but his parents hail from Senegal, so he has the African French connection, right? A lot of the French players on their national teams are all from Africa. And so he has that toughness from Africa, but the flair from a French team. He's a big wing. He loves to pass, a really good passer, really, really good athlete. And he's a big body wing that likes to play physical and tough. His biggest strength right now is his passing. And one of the areas that he has to focus on to get better is his shooting. But other than that, he's going to be a NBA basketball player to where in 2 or 3 years we'll see his best basketball. He was second on our team in assists, and he was second in the G League in dunks. And he played the whole season at 18 years old.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.